What if you had instant analytics on your PDP images and a faster way to create content that performs better? That's what we're diving into in today's episode, how top brands and retailers are using analytics and automation to stay ahead across retail media and the digital shelf. It's Rapid helps teams scale smarter. They analyze image performance, they help you create optimized assets for retail media networks and the digital shelf, and they integrate directly with PIM and DAM systems for seamless execution. Brands like Pepsi, Mondelez, and Instacart use It's Rapid to go beyond basic tools to uncover gaps in PDP and retail media performance by analyzing the images themselves, not just the count. Streamline banner creation across hundreds of formats for Amazon Ads, Walmart Connect, and other retail and social platforms, and launch high-performing content more than 80% faster across e-commerce and marketing channels. If you're buried in manual work or struggling to keep up, this episode and It's Rapid will show you a better way. Visit itsrapid.ai to learn more.
Welcome to Beyond the Shelf with Dave Feinlieb. This show is an open exploration of the people and process behind e-commerce. Through conversations with innovators in the space, we learn the stories of these leaders and their strategies for e-commerce success. We publish new episodes every Tuesday morning, so be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And now, here's your host, Dave Feinlieb.
Welcome back to Beyond the Shelf. My guest today is Daniel Torres Dwyer, founder and co-host of the FMCG Guys podcast and director of executive search at Dwyer Partners. Daniel spends his days talking to leaders in the consumer goods industry, whether he's recruiting them into senior roles or interviewing them on one of the top podcasts in the space. The FMCG Guys has featured hundreds of CPG and retail leaders, and his executive search work spans Europe, the US, and beyond. With Shop Talk Europe just a couple weeks away, this episode couldn't come at a better time. Daniel brings a uniquely global perspective to the challenges and opportunities facing brands, teams, and marketers right now, from hiring and retention to the rising pressure on marketing to drive measurable growth. Thoughtful and deeply plugged in, Daniel offers valuable insight on where the industry is headed next. Daniel, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Thanks, David. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
The FMCG Guys, so well known. Tell us about the show.
Well, basically, it's a show where we interview consumer goods and retail leaders and luminaries twice a week. Our episodes air every Wednesday and every Saturday. People may be curious, like, do you have a relationship with the CPG guys? Did you copy them? Well, it's a bit of both, actually. They started first, and we came later as their basically European counterparts. So they do North America and we do mainly Europe. Sometimes we venture into other territories like Latin America or Asia, but it's mainly Europe.
That's awesome. How long have you been doing the show?
For over 4 years now, so quite a while.
What have you learned in those 4 years about how to do a great show and the podcasting overall?
A few things. First of all, you have to really prepare in advance, and that comes to the episodes, like really preparing the questions well beforehand, but also having like a great pipeline of guests. Like one thing that you always want is to have like several episodes recorded. Because that way you can plan more in advance. For example, I'm going on holiday now for 2 weeks, so I have pre-recorded episodes I can publish. And that means you never compromise on the quality of the guests that you have. And I think also working a niche would also be a very top advice I would give.
How did you decide to kind of be in this CPG category? I know you had a background in recruiting and people.
Yeah, I mean, there's a saying in recruitment, which is nobody decides to be a recruiter. You fall into it. So that's what happened to me. I was in my last year of university and I got an internship with a company here in Barcelona, recruiting internationally. So I fell into recruitment. And I therefore fell into CPG and retail recruitment because that's what the firm that I first started working with was specialized in. So I've fortunately been able to basically capitalize on this industry to not only do recruitment, but now do a podcast and events around it as well. And I think it's an industry we all really like. So
yeah, absolutely. Tell me a little about your background in recruiting. What's that like, and how do you match the right person with the right role?
yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think there's a part that's an innate ability to not necessarily, and people would think you need to be an extrovert. I am an extrovert personally, but I think you just have to be able to understand company cultures and people, because to understand what it takes to be on paper a great sales director, a great marketing director, a great supply chain director is pretty easy to understand. But then to understand like the nuances of every company, and then understand the nuances of every person, and then be able to match needs is a complicated one. And executive search, they don't give you the easy roles, right? You get the complicated ones. So it also teaches you to forcibly have to plan. You have to plan, but you also have to have ton of contingency plans, because it's never a guarantee. Like you're selling something that maybe is that decides not to be sold at the end. If that makes sense.
What are some of the most exciting searches that you've had an opportunity to work on?
Well, my first searches were really cool. I did some searches for Nike in Brazil back in the day.
Wow.
So that was a time when Brazil was at its top of the economy.
Right.
And it was very exciting because I was in Barcelona, but I got to speak with other people with people at the other side of the world, and I was in my early 20s, so it was a very exciting time. I think when I started also going on the business side and getting new clients on board was also a very exciting time for me. The first client that I was able to bring in was Puma. So to look for a global head of trade compliance. So that was an exciting search. It was a complicated search.
Yeah.
But fortunately, I landed the candidate. But it just goes to show how difficult and complex executive search is. Even if I place the candidate, Puma, they brought in a new talent person. She hated me, and they decided never to work with me again. So just comes to show like the complexities of the relationship. I have a great relationship with the candidate. She actually came on the podcast and everything a couple of years ago.
So a lot of us are looking to build teams, of course, and bring great people into our organizations. Let's say we start working together, and I tell you I'm looking for this great candidate for this role in my team. How does it work from there? What do I need to have for you in order for a search to go really well?
Well, first of all, you have to be ready to be committed to me and trust me that I'm the right partner for you. That's the first thing. Second, I'll make sure that you put in the right time at the beginning of the search to brief me. And I'll actually fly to wherever you are to really understand not only what you're looking for, but most importantly, who you are and how you tick, right? Because without that understanding and that a bit of trust building of this face-to-face relationship,
right,
it's very difficult to land a search, because there's times that are critical. You need to trust your partner, and if that doesn't happen, then you rely on luck, and that's nothing you want to rely on.
Yeah, 100%. Now I'm a candidate. I had the good fortune to meet you. I'm interested in this role. How's the conversation go?
Look, the first thing I do when I speak with a potential candidate it's a bit similar. It's try to understand who they are, what their objectives are, what their expectation is, how happy they are in the current role, and then even more down to earth things such as like, are they mobile? Like, would they relocate for a job, or how much money are they making and expecting to make? So these are the type of things that I try. It's very consultative, right? While you would love them to go for your role if they look good on paper, you always have to think of the long term, because this person most likely won't be the candidate you'll place, but they could be a great candidate for other searches. They could give you a referral in the future, or they could even be a client in the future as well.
This is so interesting. So really knowing both sides is the key to having this work. And it sounds like you think about it as a long-term relationship. It's not just one role that you're working on.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, and I have to give credit to the first firm that I worked with, that they kind of taught me to work like that. There's a lot of other things they didn't do well, but that they did very well. And it's really like, yeah, I think that if you put in the right amount of work at the beginning, and that's another thing that I didn't mention at the beginning of the search, after the client briefs me, it's all about going to my network, asking for referrals, seeing who I know that could be a candidate, and doing search as well to really have like a huge pipeline. So you're in control of the search instead of the candidates being in control of you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's really well put. Now we're in a very volatile time in the market. What are you seeing in terms of searches overall? Are they up? Are they down? Are people looking around? What's the environment like?
Did the stock exchange go up 10% or down 10% today? I
Right.
don't know how it went today.
Yeah.
No, so look, I think that in the last few couple of or 3 years, definitely the market has changed, and it's tough, because on one side, there is a certain analysis paralysis in companies because like uncertainty is the worst thing for business, right? And there's been so much uncertainty that it's hard for them to really like activate new hires and go out of a certain hiring freeze. And secondly, for the tough reality for recruitment at lower levels, but now I think shit's hitting the fan for executive search as well, is that really like you have two sides, two different things. Technological advance
Hmm.
allows companies to really cover much more than they did before, plus building their own talent acquisition teams. And it's challenging for us. I mean, I think it's always about understanding your market and having that personal touch as a differentiator, but it's not an easy market right now.
Will we see AI being applied to recruiting?
Oh yeah, it already is being applied. I mean, I don't know exactly how it's happening at the lower levels, but I'm sure a lot of like the initial CV checking has been doing like that screening exactly. And I know that some parts of the recruitment process as well are done through AI. And I think that at the higher level executive search, a lot of like the search phase can be done by AI or AI related tools. I do think that at the higher levels, and I think that there's nothing like a good executive search firm as a partner because searches are complicated. Finding a great talent at a senior level is complicated, and you need that middle person to really make sure that you land the right person and can manage expectations. And that cannot be done by AI so far.
No, no, no. One more question for you on recruiting, and then I want to talk about the podcast and some of your recent guests. In this era of AI, you're giving advice to new college grads. What fields would you recommend that they study, especially as we see more and more automation and AI coming into some of today's workflows?
Humanities and critical thinking. That would be definitely where I would recommend people to invest and really to read news from as many sources as possible, be critical, and never try trust like the face, or like always double check things, or make sure that you always have a criteria. I think that the world is becoming very polarized. Like either you're like conservative in all fronts or you're left wing a lot of fronts. I think that you have to learn to have your own criteria, and that will bring you a long way because it will make you a much better critical thinker when you have to take business decisions as well. And it will just help you to be able to build relations with all kinds of people.
Great insights. I want to switch gears, talk a little bit about the podcast. So, tell us about some of your recent guests that you've had on the show, if you would, and then I want to hear about some of the events you've been at this year.
Oh wow, you'll make me actually look back at the people we've had because you have to think we have like almost two new guests a week. I mean, that's the regular ones. But if I look at the recent ones we had, we spoke with Volker Zöller, who's the president consumer goods EMEA at Essity, one of the big consumer goods companies, and we spoke about like a lot of things from like the new workplace after COVID, like what it looks like. And this is coming from somebody very senior that's been in an executive position for 3 decades. Super interesting. We spoke, I don't know, one that did very well recently was about revenue growth management with Nikitas from Bayer. Super interesting topic as well. We spoke with the head of marketing EMEA for Foot Locker, speaking about, and it is a super relevant topic right now in our industry, what marketing has to be. And we called it the episode "Marketing with a Point of View," which I think is quite self-explanatory. And another episode that I thought was very interesting, we spoke with an executive. They call themselves associates from Gore, the ones that do Gore-Tex, and they have like one of the most, if not the most unique company culture in the industry, where it's like a zero hierarchies company. So this is a must listen to for anyone that's interested in company culture.
Amazing. And when you think about these different guests and their different cultures, how much have they influenced the cultures of their organizations, and how much of those cultures sort of already existed and they came in and had to learn the culture?
I mean, it depends, right? Like the Volker from SAT has been in the company for a long, long time, and he's been in a senior position for a long time. So obviously he's had an influence.
Yeah.
But ultimately, yeah, culture, I think everybody has to adapt. Even if you're in the same company for a long time, you'll have people coming in and out. I think it's the most important thing when it comes to company culture is to dedicate time to it and do an effort to like realize what type of people you are and what sets of like behaviors and values are common to them and will drive the company forward.
Now, we met up at Shop Talk here in the U.S. a few weeks ago. What did you see at the show, and what stood out for you?
Yeah, interesting question. I mean, I think that it's like the confirmation that retail media is here to stay. I mean, of course, I focus more on the CPG side, so I think that was the big message there. What I think that I mean, no, another thing. Also, the debate of brand versus performance is definitely here to stay. I mean, this is something that has appeared from one year to the next, and that's a big one as well. Anything that you saw more?
Yeah, I think we saw a lot of great speakers. For us, at least at It's Rapid, the one-on-ones are amazing opportunity to meet a lot of customers, and I think we saw, to your point, retail media just everywhere you looked. So that's really exciting, and I think just a continuous growth area. So that's where we saw the most activity. Now, looking ahead, we've got Shop Talk Europe coming up in your hometown of Barcelona. First off, let me ask you the important questions. What places should we check out in Barcelona while we're at the show?
Yeah, great question. I give you one strong piece of advice, which is don't stay around the Rambla.
Okay.
A lot of people try to stay around there because it's like the old part of town. Look, it's nice, but it's super touristy and like overcrowded. So I would not recommend staying there. And look, I think that anywhere the outside old part of town is nice, of course, the Born area especially. But anything in the Eixample, which is above Plaza Catalunya, is very nice. And the neighborhood of Gracia, which is where I live, is also very special. So these are the main areas I would say I would recommend. And as I always like to do in cities is go to a high point. There's several ones here in Barcelona because we have the sea and the hills, and just like observe the city from a high point, the viewpoint, and enjoy it. And just stand there, sit there, have maybe a drink, and enjoy the view.
An amazing city, beautiful city, incredible food. We were there last year, so not that I'm only going for the food or the city, of course. Of course, I'm going for the show and all the great people that we get to meet. What are you looking ahead to the rest of this year? Are you focused on AI? Are you focused on developments for CPG? What are some of the topic areas you're thinking about?
Well, actually, at Shop Talk, I'm going to be moderating a quick fire panel around retail media with a couple of retailers and a brand person. So that's going to be very cool. And in terms of topics for the year, to be honest, one of my focuses for the podcast, I mean, look, the focus is always to bring great voices from consumer goods and retail with a certain seniority, and also great partners that we help gain visibility through our channel. But in terms of like topics, I think that I would really like to focus on marketing, because I think that that's like a big change in our industry. I feel like during the last 10 years, a lot of the growth in CPG has come from commercial activity, call it trade marketing, call it category management, call it revenue management, call it e-commerce. But I feel like the pendulum and a lot of people are looking at what marketers are doing.
Tell us more about that. Is the pendulum swinging in another direction? Are you seeing tech being more applied? What's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that tech and AI can definitely be a good way for marketers to really be like strategic and not, one, be distracted, or two, have the excuse of like work that's more tactical. But yeah, I think that in an economy that's not growing, as we've seen it grow in the last 10 years, brands really have to make a true effort to differentiate themselves, and not being, being on the shelf is kind of a given. I know it's not, but I think that building like a brand story and a brand attraction that really attracts, especially the younger consumer, and no, everybody's trying to figure out what Gen Zs are all about. I don't blame them. I think that that's like huge. So marketers, one, they'll have a lot of like eyes on them, but also a lot of pressure on them. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a certain level of attrition and a change of the profile that's in marketing in the next few years.
Super interesting. Daniel, I've got the rapid rundown for you to wrap up our session here.
Already?
Yeah,
We're already done?
Already.
Oh, God.
It's
That
rapid
was
here.
quick. It's
Yeah,
rapid. It's rapid.
it's rapid. At Beyond the Shelf, and it's rapid. We try and be efficient with your time, and I've got a few fun questions for you. The first of which is, if you're able to get some time away from work, how do you like to spend your time? What are your hobbies?
Yeah, like the thing that I like to do the most is just spend time with my friends, basically.
And one thing I've found is you get further and further in your career and so on. How do you like to spend that time? Is it hanging out in the city? Is it activities together, or what does that encompass?
Yeah, it could be anything from like meeting in a bar, watching a game, and then going out a bit,
Yeah,
or going for a weekend somewhere, or going on a road trip.
love it.
I love going to the beach as well, so that's a plan that I'm always up for as well.
That's the perfect activity. The FMCG guys, you've done how many episodes so far? If you can even count them at this point.
200, I think we're at 236 now.
Incredible. And do you have a certain goal in mind, like you're trying to hit 1,000, or you're just going to keep going?
We'll just keep going. The goal is to bring great guests, have a fun show that it ideally can be educational as well. But the most important thing is that it's entertaining.
Yeah.
We give visibility to the right people.
Now, when you're not hosting your own podcast, are there any podcasts you love to listen to while you're on one of these road trips or out exploring the city?
Yeah, so I love history, so that's something that I'll always be listening to. There's a local Catalan podcast I listen to, but there's also Dan Snow's History or History Hit that I like. Yeah, I like politics as well. So the rest is politics. The rest is politics US. I think that I'm listening to quite a lot lately. Also, I'm a big radio listener, so I listen to a lot of like local Catalan shows as well. Football is something that I listen to as well. So the Guardian's football podcast I've been listening to for years. And in business, there's a great one called How I Built This.
Oh, yeah.
There's actually another one that I've listened to lately, which is called The Big Flop, which is basically about failures of many types, but a lot of them are business failures. And there's one that's amazing that's called Acquired.
That is a great one.
Yeah, and of course, your podcast, and our partners in the US, the CPG guys. How could I forget them?
Oh, exactly. I love it. Thank you for the plug. We'll take it. And that's a great one. Now, one other question for you. You're a natural in the business of kind of connecting with people. For those of our listeners who are looking to be even better than they already are at connecting with people in the organization, networking and all that, what kind of tips do you have for them when it comes to doing that well?
Yeah, I think it's like and this sounds logical, but it's not so easy. It's like just try to be yourself first of all, and think of like what's in it for them. Like a lot of people will connect with people. I want to connect with you because I am very interested in your profile, and it has to be something like putting like the you before the I. I think is a very important one, and also be specific about what you want, but be smart about what you're being specific of. Because if you want to sell to them, don't just say, "Hey, I want to sell such and such."
Yeah. Yeah. This is great. Put the you before the I. That may be the title of this podcast episode. That's a great insight. So many great insights that you've shared with us today. Daniel, if our listeners want to listen to the FMCG guys, connect with you online, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. You can just add me or follow me, whatever you prefer. And for the podcast, the best way to like follow us is to follow our LinkedIn page. And you can find us at our website, fmcgguys.com, or in any like of the major podcast platforms. We're also on YouTube, mainly audio, but sometimes also on video if we're recording in a studio or something.
Amazing. I've learned so much, and congratulations on all the episodes to date. You're doing an amazing thing here, and appreciate all the insights. Great talking with you on Beyond the Shelf.
Thanks. I had a great time.
That's it for this week's episode of Beyond the Shelf. If you enjoy the show, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave us a review. It really helps us grow. And feel free to share us with your colleagues so they too can hear weekly perspectives from the brightest minds in e-commerce. You can also check us out on LinkedIn, where we post clips from each episode, share Dave's takes on breaking industry news, and much more. Beyond the Shelf is a production of It's Rapid. Our host is Dave Feinlieb, and our producers are Sean Levy-Ashvili and Jake Musiker. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Beyond the Shelf.